Hello everyone, my name is NewFlowerGirl, but you can call me Demi, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing another Aftertalk, talking about what happened in May. Well, let me tell you, 4 races. 2 sprints and 1 main race. Anyway, let's get to it. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to be talking about the Formula 1 Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix. We're going to be talking about the Formula 1 Le Nouveau Grand Prix du Canada. We're going to take a look at the current driver standings and the current constructor standings. And of course, where we're going to next. And also, if you suddenly hear a buzzing noise, I have a fly in my room who is trying to find a place to phase through walls, apparently. I have lost sight of him at the moment, but I'm pretty sure he'll show up again soon. So just in case you hear a buzzing sound, that's where it comes from. Anyway, the Miami Grand Prix. There were changes made to the engines. I'm not going to go over all of them. If you want to read it, I'll put the article from Formula1.com in the description. It was a sprint weekend, as I said. These are all just sprint weekends. Out in SQ1. Lawson, Ocon, Perez, Bottas, Alonso and Stroll. Pretty much our usual suspects besides Ocon. He sometimes makes it through to Q2. Out in Sprint Quali 2, Gabi, Hulkenberg, Ollie, Albon, Sainz and Lindblad. Arvid Lindblad. Yeah. Lando got sprint pole. Shocker. That was a nice surprise, to be honest. Kimi P2 and Oscar Piastri P3. Max ended up P5, which is not too bad. And Lindblad P16. Albon got demoted to P19 due to track limits. Yep. On the way to the grid, Hulk had an engine poof, the old-fashioned smoke plume at the end of a car. Yeah. His race was over before it even started. His exhaust was also on fire. A moment of silence was held for Alex Zanardi, who passed away earlier on that Saturday morning. Alex Zanardi was a former Formula 1 driver who became actually famous because of a terrible accident in which he lost both of his legs. I believe it was 2002 that accident happened. I don't know what track. Might have been an American track, might have been a European track. But a moment of silence was held for him out of respect. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing. Formula 1 always does these things. And other sports also do these things. It's just showing respect towards the driver who is no longer among us anymore. Arvid Lindblad was supposed to start from the pits, but he never started the race. First few laps, it was Max versus Lewis versus Colapinto. In the end, Max won. These new regulation changes, or a few little rule changes, have been pretty fortunate for Red Bull, I feel like. I mean, that's what it started out as. On lap 8, Max did a Verstappen special, overtaking outside the track, but his opponent went off too. There's a famous example of this one, Austin 2023 or 24. Either one. It was in a battle with Lando. Might have even been 25. Maybe. I don't know. But that's the Verstappen special, as the commentators called it. But he did give back the position before start finish, and then he went for it again. On lap 10, Ocon lost a piece of his car. Lap later, Ollie drove over it. The piece of debris was obliterated. But Ollie did not have a puncture and there was no need for a virtual safety car. On lap 14, Alex Albon boxed for a new front wing. On lap 17, Hadjar made a big move on Colapinto. It almost seemed like Colapinto had lost a little bit of power. Like his engine just went dark, maybe. Lando wins sprint race. Piastri P2 and Leclerc P3. Finally a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for McLaren. Bright orange light. World Championship leader Kimi in P4 and Max finished P6. And Lindblad got a DNS. Kimi did get a 5-second penalty for track limits, in the end dropping him behind Max, so Max actually finished where he started. And also Gabi got a disqualification for a technical breach. Now we're going to go to qualifying. There was a rain hazard rule implemented this year, or announced this year. Basically, if there is a chance of rain during the Grand Prix itself, so during race day on Sunday, they implement a rule where teams can change things on their drivers' cars, like complete different setup, a different wing. They can even go past curfew, and they won't get a penalty for it. It's just so that everyone, so that the cars stay safe. I'm gonna say. I'm not sure why, but I feel like it has to do with safety because most of these rules have things to do with safety. Out in Q1, we had Lindblad, Alonso, Stroll, Bottas, Perez, and Gabi. Gabi, at the end of this session, had hot red bricks. They were ablaze. They were on fire. So, both Audis not a good start. Out in Q2, Hulkenberg, Lawson, Ollie Behrman, Carlos Sainz, Ocon, and Albon. Kimi Antonelli got pole, Max P2, finally. And Charles Leclerc P3. Lindblad is going to start from P17. But then, two big things put into one little dot. Isaac Hadjar got a disqualification 4 hours before the start of the Grand Prix. To me, that is very late, but considering the fact that it was going to storm on race day, it was legit going to storm at 4 p.m. local time. The people in America, they are not going to race if there is lightning in the sky. Okay. All of you Americans watching this, you'll know why I'm saying this. For the people who don't know, safety reasons. For one, medical helicopter cannot get into the air when there is thunder and lightning. And two, it's for the safety of the fans because somewhere in like 1937 or something, long time ago, a fan got struck by lightning and passed away. So it's for both the safety of drivers and fans. And of course the teams, obviously, and marshals. Everyone who is at the venue. So they moved the Grand Prix from 4 p.m. local time to 1 p.m. local time, which is basically 6 p.m. UK time. For me, I'm Dutch. I'm 1 hour ahead of Britain. So for me, that was 7 p.m. It was actually pretty it was actually pretty good that they moved it up because the next day I had to get up early. So yeah. Hadjar to start from the pits, and from the size of the letters you can tell it is going to be a lot. Max didn't get away too well, but he spun at the exit of turn 2 after a hectic start of the race. He managed to stay on track and no one hit him. He has a little front wing damage. Replays show Max getting surprised by a move from Charles Leclerc. Yeah. I don't think Charles actually expected Max to be there. So he just went for the apex, and Max, he had nowhere else to go. He was already on the curb. So he spun. On lap 5. Yes, we're jumping straight to lap 5. There was a safety car. We had an Haja in the wall at turn 15. And then also we had a Gasly on top of the tyre barriers at turn 17. Basically what happened, Gasly got hit by Lawson, whose car went dark the moment before impact. Onboards legit showed up. Gasly ended up doing a barrel roll and ending up with one tyre on top of the tyre barriers. Yeah. Luckily he ended up the right way. he landed the right way. So it was scary. But definitely not scary as we have seen or are gonna see this season. On lap 9, the incident involving Lawson and Gasly was under investigation, while Hulk and Lawson both retired in the pits. Lawson did not get a penalty for it. He might have gone like a sanction or something, or a suspended penalty. Basically, he got a penalty, but because this and this happened, if he does a similar thing within the next 12 months, he will have to serve the penalty. Basically like that. But then drops of rain had been reported falling. It did not push through. I was a very sad red panda. On lap 16, we had a yellow flag. We had a Canadian going off track, doing a bit of, I wanted to say doing a bit of rallying, but yeah, you can't really do rally on a street circuit or a hybrid street circuit. I think it's hybrid street circuit. You have street circuits, you have normal circuits, and then you have the in-between, the hybrids. Like, why? They can't decide if it should be a street circuit or a normal circuit. Why? Why can they not make up their minds? Anyway, on lap 17, Max was noted for crossing the white line at pit exit. Investigated after the race. Ocon and Alonso were also noted for yellow flag infringements. On lap 21, an Albon and Verstappen incident noted, no action needed. I cannot remember what that incident was. So, yeah. One lap later, there was a little lighter rain at turn 7 and 8, basically around the area of Fake Harbour. So, yeah. On lap 28, Bottas was under investigation for speeding in the pits. He got a drive-through. One lap later, Max leads the Grand Prix, as the yellow flag infringements for Ocon and Alonso did not need action taken. On lap 33, Kimi reported having gearbox issues. He drove past pit lane, and basically the guys at the pit wall can reset the car from that point, and the issue was gone. So yeah, that's why the drivers basically go for another lap, even though they have reported an issue with the systems in the car. And they basically drive past pit lane they continue their race. They drive past pit lane. And the guys at pit wall can manually override some systems for the car to try and fix the problem. So that's what happened. It's pretty cool, right? It's like a remote control, like little buttons. Yeah. On lap 44, Bottas was warned for ignoring blue flags. He basically got the black and white flag. That's what they use to warn the drivers, to say you have been warned. On lap 55, Max and Russell were fighting for quite some while. Russell got some front wing damage. He had lightly hit Max. To be honest, Max is getting in the mix right now with the entire grid. He's fighting them all. I think he's currently fought all drivers on the grid this season. I mean, to be honest, he started last at the start of the season and he worked his way up to the front. And yeah, he had fought with Kimi in the sprint. So yeah. On lap 56, Lando might have an error issue with his rear wing. We don't know what happened, if he drove past pit lane and it was like fixed, or if the team said just 1 lap to go, keep going. But that couldn't really be said for Charles Leclerc. On the last lap, he spun in turn 2 and he hit the wall. He was able to continue though, but his car was not safe. He actually got in the mix with Max and Russell. Kimi wins the race. Both Papayas were on the podium with Lando in P2 and Piastri in P3. A P5 for Max, and Russell hit Leclerc at the end, and Max overtook Leclerc. Russell's front wing end plate was scraping along the ground. I'm not sure why he didn't get a meatball flag for that, or penalty, because his car was technically in an unsafe manner. Arvid Lindblad got a P14. Russell was later under investigation for moving under braking. No action taken. I feel like Russell has now been under investigation for moving under braking for much more. And that I feel like that is going to be karma for asking the race control to look at every overtake that has been done on him last season, because he was always crying about other guys moving under braking. But we'll see how many more times he will be under investigation for. Max got given a 5-second penalty for the pit lane line incident, but he kept his place after Leclerc got a 20-second penalty for driving his car in an unsafe condition. Yeah, apparently if your car is in an unsafe condition, you get 20 seconds added to your time. We have another sprint weekend. Woo! Lawson and Albon will not take part in sprint quali. Albon, for obvious reasons, he hit the groundhog in free practice, and now he's scared that his mother will make him adopt the entire family. At least that's what James Vowles said. But the fact that he hit a groundhog was true. It came out of nowhere. I saw the footage. It came out of nowhere. There was nothing he could do. I mean, at that speed, the cars go. There's nothing he could have done. I don't know why Lawson didn't take part, because he didn't watch sprint qualifying. I was tired. It was late, and I had to go to DTM the next day. So this I wrote down all while I was at DTM. There was a red flag in sprint quali 1. We had an Alonso in the wall at turn 3. Yeah. Out in SQ1, Perez, Stroll, Gasly, Bottas, Albon and Lawson. Though Alonso actually made it through. His time was good enough. But he was out in sprint quali 2, obviously. Along with Hülkenberg, Gabi, Colapinto, Ocon and Ollie. We had a Russell on pole, and a Kimi on P2, and a Lando on P3. We had a Max in P7. And Lindblad, he actually made it to Q3. Not sure if that's his first time. I think it might be, but that is pretty damn good. We had 3 drivers starting from the pits. Later, a 5th. We have an Albon, a Bottas, a Gasly and an Ollie starting from the pits. Stroll, he later got pushed to the pits as well. But he was also under investigation for starting procedure infringement. No action taken. Kimi finally had a decent start. He kept his place during the start, so that's what I'm going to call a decent start, considering the rest of his starts. Could have gone away a bit better, but hey, he's still getting used to this starting mechanism. Give him some time. On lap 5, Haja reported engine problems. On lap 6, Russell had forced Kimi off at the chicane at chicane turn 1 and 2. Later, Kimi went off himself at chicane turn 8 and 9, and I found the fly again. He was flying in front of my face. On lap 9, Haja retired in the pits, but 1 lap later, on lap 10, he came back out for probably to gather more data, which is pretty smart, to be honest. But he also finished the race as well. On lap 15, Hülkenberg was under investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. He got 20 seconds. That is harsh, considering all the other times it was like 10. So he must have taken a lot of advantage. On lap 18, Alonso retired in the pits as Kimi almost rear-ended Lando at the hairpin. Yeah, Lando had overtaken Kimi after Kimi went off at turn 8 and 9. On lap 19, Max was noted for a yellow flag infringement, but there was no penalty given. On lap 21, first time in his career, Lewis Hamilton hit the wall of champions. There was no visual damage. We all know the story of the wall of champions. Firstly, it was known exit turn 14. But then drivers like Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve hit the wall. They were all champions at the time. And hence it was nicknamed the Wall of Champions. A lot of other drivers have hit it too. Kevin Magnussen, Sebastian Vettel, and Formula 2 driver this weekend. Formula 2 driver Laurens van Hoepen hit it too on the Sunday. So we know his fate now. He's going to be a champion. Maybe not this year. Those cars are pretty damn good. But he might be next year. Who knows? Who knows? On the final lap, Piastri passed Lewis and Kimi went wide after a move on Lando. Russell wins, Lando P2 and Kimi P3. We had a Max in P7. He kept his position, which is good. And Lindblad was P8. Now we're going to go to qualifying. Ollie had a piece of his car come off. Onboard shows something flapping in the wind on his left side pod. There was actually no footage that I know of that showed something coming off. But it's not the first time at this track that a piece of the car flew off. Remember last year with Alex Albon in practice, I believe it was. Yeah. Out in Q1, Ocon, Albon, Alonso, Perez, Stroll and Bottas. Out in Q2 we had Hulk, Alonso, Hulkenberg, Lawson, Gabby, Gasly, Sainz and Ollie. This is going to be a long video, I'm sorry guys. We had a Russell on pole, a Kimi in P2 and Lando P3. Max and Hadjar P6 and P7. Hadjar is probably the best teammate right now for Max with these cars. I'm gonna jinx it. I don't have wood. I would have knocked on wood. Lindblad qualified P9 again. On race day, the rain hazard rule was activated once again. Yeah. Also on race day, there was the Indy 500. My dad almost missed it. But we did end up watching it. The Dutch driver VK, he finished in the top 10. So he did very well. And it was rain there, so they the moment it rains on an oval, it's a red flag. But they restarted. There was a crash there, and then like a big crash, a fire even, which basically was like, we're gonna give them another break, and then they restarted again, and then it was just chaos. So yeah, that was a really intense Indy 500 because people were like, oh, it's gonna rain any second now, they're gonna call it quits. So the drivers went just all in, which was really cool. Definitely go and watch that if you haven't done already. Anyway, back to Canada. Stroll was to start from the pits. There was a mix with slicks and intermediate tires. You see those guys in the orange suits on the background? They were on the inters. There was an aborted start, an extra formation lap. Lindblad couldn't get his car into gear. Then, because it took so long for the marshals to get the car back to the pits, another formation lap was added, meaning the race distance will now be 68 laps. Drivers on the inters had a rocket start, but near the end of the lap they lost some time. Piastri was constantly on the radio during the formation lap. Guys, we need to box. These tires are wrong. We need to box. And McLaren was like, nope, these are the right tires. Boy, should they have listened to Oscar. They would have been on the podium. Maybe, I don't know. On lap 3, there was a Bottas and Stroll incident noted for out of position at safety car line. That happened a lot this weekend, even in Formula 2. My God. On lap 6, Kimi almost rear-ended Russell. Seemed like moving under braking from Russell. On lap 9, Max made a massive clean move on Lewis to get into podium positions. Yeah, Max actually had a very good start. On lap 11, Gabby was noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Lap 13, yellow flags at hairpin. On the replays, it shows Piastri ploughing into the right side pod of Albon. Albon out, Piastri got a 10-second penalty. On lap 24, Russell and Kimi done some wheel banging going into the final chicane. Russell forced Kimi off, Kimi was told to give back the position, which he did. Though they both went off, and Kimi actually did it the right way, and I don't know why Russell did not get a penalty for failing to follow race directions for following race direction orders. Damn. On lap 27, Alonso retired in the pits. He had seat trouble all weekend. While Russell and Kimi incident was noted. On lap 30, Russell went wide through turn 8 and his car died halfway through, cutting some grass. We didn't know Mercedes were making lawnmowers now. That's an old joke that Bottas made. So I'm going to stop making that joke. 4 laps later, Russell was noted for throwing his headrest on track in anger. It is a massive safety violation that he made. And he also threw his belt buckle on track. Yeah, that is dangerous. If a car drove over it, it would have been flung somewhere or get caught in the tire, maybe. I don't know what would have happened, but it's dangerous. He should not have done that. But he did express, he was sorry for it. Because he said that he is a role model and he should be acting like one. Those are his words, not mine. So yeah, he did get a penalty. He did get something for it. On lap 36, Hadjar was noted for a yellow flag infringements. On lap 52, under investigation, the verdict, 10 seconds stop and go. 3 laps later, Hadjar was also noted for moving more than once during defending. That was in a battle with Leclerc. On lap 44, under investigation, and then a normal 10-second penalty. Damn. On lap 40, Lando's gearbox gave up. There was no virtual safety car or normal safety car, as he put his car neatly behind the barriers at the hairpin. Then we had to go to the next lap because there was so much. On lap 43 of 68, Perez went into the pits. His front right suspension broken. What happened was the moment he went to brake for the pit entry, it just snapped off. Who of you watching remember Sebastian Buemi in China? It almost felt like that, even though I wasn't watching Formula 1 at that time. On lap 46, there was a virtual safety car to clear the debris at pit entry from Perez's Cadillac. Marshall did one hell of a move to get off the track. It was time-saving. Virtual safety car ended the same lap. On lap 47, Bottas was noted for speeding in the pits. He got 5-second penalty. Feels like Cadillac have not done their job with pits limiter for Bottas. Yeah. On lap 53, there was another safety car, virtual safety car. There was debris at the hairpin. No idea where that came from. Probably from Albon and Piastri. But 1 lap later, the virtual safety car ended. 3 laps later, Gabby was noted for safety car infringement. There was a great battle with Lewis and Max, and I had really missed that. It was really nice to see them going wheel to wheel again, but there was just so much more respect between them. On lap 62, Lewis had passed Max for P2. A clean move with a lot of overspeed. He was going so much faster than Max. Might have just been the battery, overtake mode, and boost mode all together. but it was a nice move. 1 lap later, Hajar served the stop and go penalty. He didn't lose a place at all to Colapinto. He had a lot of space between him and Colapinto, so that's pretty good. Kimi had won, and he has won 4 in a row now. Lewis in P2, Max in P3, and the fly has landed on my finger. Isaac Hajar finished P5. And then let's mention the Alpines. Colapinto in P6 ahead of Gasly in P9. It's not the first time you're going to see that this season, I have a feeling. Which is only good for Colapinto. Ricky Lindblad had gone another DNS in P22. And this is the fine that Russell got. A €5,000 fine. But he doesn't have to pay unless he commits a similar safety violation within 12 months. So yeah. It's basically because he expressed how sorry he was. That fly is going up against my lamp now. We're going to take a look at the current driver standings. Look at that. Kimi is the only one within 100 points. And we have 5 drivers who haven't scored points yet. I do not expect Cadillac to score points at all. But I really thought that Aston Martin would have scored some points by now. But then again, if they keep making these mistakes with the seats, and if their car is still as shit as it was at the start of the season, then I don't think they are going to. But Hulkenberg might actually get some points if he stays on track. Now we're going to take a look at the current constructor standings. Look at that. Beautiful. Alpine in P5. Gosh, that was a long time ago when that happened. Alpine in P5 in the constructor standings. Yeah. Anyway, where to next in the month of June? Well, we're going to go to Monaco. We're going to finally get to see how these smaller cars work on the streets of Monaco. On the streets of money, mostly. Yeah. That is June 5th till June 7th. Then we're going to go to Barcelona on the 12th till the 14th. And then we're going to end this months of racing with the Austrian Grand Prix on the 26th till the 28th. And that is that's the racing in June that's going to happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please hit the like button and also consider subscribing if you don't want to miss any other video. But that's it from me for now, and I shall see you guys in another video. Goodbye!